Hi, we're here with Eva Di Cesare from Monkey Baa Theatre, and she has agreed to join us today to answer a few questions about her creative process and about Monkey Baa and Monkey Baa's relationship with Riverside. Thank you so much for joining us, Eva.
Thank you for inviting me, Amy. It's a real pleasure.
Yeah, we love Monkey Baa here at Riverside, and we'll go into Monkey Baa and Riverside's extensive history a little later in the interview. But for those of you who at home who don't know who Monkey Baa Theatre is, could you just tell us a bit about Monkey Baa Theatre and explain some of the history of the theatre company as well?
Sure. Monkey Baa Theatre Company started in 1998, and it started with three of us who were three actors. It was Tim McGarry, Sandra Eldridge, and myself. And we basically are a theatre company that creates live experiences, live theatre experiences for young people. Predominantly, we adapt Australian children's literature for anywhere between ages, sort of 2 right up to 18. And we tour around the country and internationally. So that's who we are. And our history, we've been, I think we're up to about our 27th adaptation or 27th, 28th tour of our works. So we've been going for quite a few years.
Great.
Yeah.
So back onto the relationship that Riverside has with Monkey Baa. As you know, we've done a little bit of research in the last couple of days and discovered that Monkey Baa's actually been performing at Riverside almost every year since the year 2003. And in that time, have produced around about 21 productions at Riverside over, a 17-year period. So how would you describe Monkey Baa's relationship with Riverside?
I have to say that Monkey Baa's relationship with Riverside is pretty special. It's something that the three of us and our team now, all our team at Monkey Baa now, take a lot of pride in, is our personal relationships and our personal connections to the venues that we tour to. But our relationship with Riverside is extra special for us. And, and I've spoken to Tim and I've spoken to Sandy, and we all agree that when we first started and in those early years, our connection to Robert Love, who is the director of Riverside, and then consequently the rest of the team, including yourself, Amy, is that we have always felt a real strong support from you for the work that we do. Not everyone thinks that theatre for young people is as important as adult theatre. They just don't. And that's okay. But at Riverside, Robert and yourselves have always felt part of that family of creators of theatre for and with young people, that it is as important as adults' work. And so we have felt that camaraderie. But we have also received a lot of support, sometimes moral, sometimes financial, sometimes in kind from Riverside. So you have been a really, really huge part of who we are today.
And do you think that venue producer relationship that we have is quite unique in the industry? Or do you think that's quite a common thing, especially with work for young people?
Yeah, okay. I actually think that is becoming, I think that is becoming more prominent now. I think that places like Wollongong, Merrygong and Glen Street Theatre, who we've also had a lovely relationship with in the past, and other venues around the country are connecting to producers in that way and actually forming deep relationships, which then, of course, create deeper, richer theatre experiences for their audiences. So that's one of the things that I've loved about being connected to you, is that for us, you know your audiences better than we do. It is your area. And so together we listen to you, you listen to us, and together with our audiences, we create the best work for them. And I think that's happening more and more in Australia now, and that lifts my spirits. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for the viewers at home who might not know the industry very well, that particularly in the theatre for young people and children's theatre industry, that it is a very close-knit community, that most of the time we're not in competition, we're in collaboration. Even us with those venues that you mentioned, we always are talking to them and seeing how we can share seasons and how we can help each other to support people such as yourself and theatre makers. So I think it's a good point to make, is that to make great theatre and to help get that great theatre out there, there needs to be that collaborative spirit.
That's right. That's right. And for us, the central part of our company is young people and their voices. So I have always felt that at Riverside, that is also part of your philosophy.
Definitely. I think we mesh well there in terms of the way that we want to approach theatre for young people. And I know that personally, your processes are very, for me, I think one of the best examples of how your work can have such integrity and heart is because of that creative process, which we're going to go into now. So on that creative processes, I've said it's really quite special, and I think the way that any company creating work for children should consider using your methods and the way that you approach that creative process as, you know, a template for how they should be doing it, because it really does involve the young people. So could you take us through that creative process?
Sure. And I'll just give you just a little bit of background around that, is that, you know, you can see we're adults. So the people in our company are all adults. And so in creating work for young people, what has always been really important for us is to make sure that the work is relevant, that it does actually, so that we have their voice within the work. That's always been a really, really important part for us. And probably about 7 or 8 years ago, we started to develop a program where, before we even put pen to paper in creating the theatrical work, we actually go and work with young people on the themes of the piece. And so if it is a book, we would take the book into a classroom and work with a group of young people and you know, really tease out the themes, what is important to them, and because what's important to them isn't necessarily what we think is important to them. So that has been a really important part of our process. And sometimes that has revealed to us a pathway for the writing of the work that we never knew. And then it is a deeper experience for them, but it's also a deeper experience for us and for our creative teams. So we involve our creative teams in that process as well with the young people. And, you know, most recently we worked with, on Edward the Emu, we worked with Bankstown West Public School, who we've had a long relationship with, and with Darcy Road Public School, who we've only just started a relationship with in this process. And, you know, we would visit the classrooms and really tease out the 2 books of Edward and Edwina the Emu, and found some fascinating viewpoints on how we should do it, and, you know, what's important and which characters are important and who we should add in. And that's a really deep process that we do. And then we invite the young people to come into the creative development and see what we have created out of, you know, all of their feedback. And then we get more feedback from them. And, you know, and sometimes it's like, yeah, no, I don't get that. I didn't get that. You know, it's robust. And, you know, my favorite moment just recently in our Edward the Emu creative development was, one young woman said to me, "I don't think it's a bad idea, Eva, but I also don't think it's a good idea." You know, like,
very
it's
diplomatic.
Beautiful. It was very diplomatic,
Yeah.
but really taken on board, and that's really, really important. to us. So that is the, you know, and then they get to come and see the show as well. So that is the, you know, the big, long development process that we go through.
And how special for them to then see their idea up on stage, or you know, that's something that they fed into up on stage. I had the pleasure of last year of actually seeing that creative development viewing for Possum Magic, and it was really special. And just to hear some of the comments that they had, you just, it constantly reminded with these things that you really can't underestimate children and their ability to really have that perception and to see and to create and to, you know, because there were things that I wouldn't have thought of as well.
I know. Some of the like logistics of the action, you know, I got some fantastic ideas that, you know, I was able to take into the rehearsals. And it does remind me, yeah, you're absolutely right, that they do love to see their ideas being brought to life. And I remember one young gentleman out at St. Mary's Public School quite a few years ago had this great idea about Diary of a Wombat, that when the wombat creates the big dust drama in front of the barbecue, for those people that have seen Diary of a Wombat, he said, wouldn't it be wonderful with the music if it all went into slow motion? And I just thought, oh my God, that is the best idea ever. And we included it, and it was so beautiful, and it still is one of my favorite moments, and that's his idea.
Yeah.
So it's just lovely. It's really lovely.
It's really special.
It's a true collaboration, and I'm really grateful that we, you know, we do get to do that with them.
Yeah. And so you've mentioned this, but before COVID hit, you had started rehearsals for your new production of Edwardian You, which was actually due to play at Riverside last week in an alternate universe. So we are going to be seeing this production, though, at Riverside at some point in the future. So when you are, as the writer and director of this work, could you give us a bit of a sneak peek into what we can expect when we see this work?
Sure, I can. So yes, so just, we were supposed to open it on April the 4th here in our venue at Monkey Baa as well, and then it was a great big tour for the whole year. But so we rehearsed for 2 weeks, and then we needed to stop due to COVID. So a sneak peek. So up until we stopped, we had rehearsed basically the whole show, and we were pretty much sort of halfway through the composition and the set, the props, our puppetry was all pretty much almost ready to go. And then it all stopped. So we have been continuing some of the creative process online. So Nate Edmondson, the composer of the show, and I have almost completed the full composition. Isabel Hudson, the designer, has almost finished all of her design. So what you're going to receive when it does come is a pretty quirky show. The composition is really gorgeous. It's jazz infused, but it's also got some very quirky, beautiful themes for our zookeepers. We've got some very funny, silly zookeepers who then become the puppeteers of our two gorgeous puppets of Edward and Edwina the emu. The production follows the stories of Edward and Edwina. If you, I don't know if you know the books, but what, as the writer and with my dramaturg Sandy, what became very apparent very early on was the character of Edwina the emu had to be the narrator of this show, this story. So she tells the entire story sort of in retrospect. And then at some point in the middle of the play, we come back to the present. So it's quite deep and rich in terms of its storytelling. It's not sort of just linear, and so yeah, expect a good time actually. And it's beautiful. There are some really moving moments when one of the zookeepers, whose favorite animal is Edward, finds out that Edward's gone, and he's really quite devastated. So there's a really beautiful, poignant moment when he's lost him, and then it just becomes madness and mayhem again. But it's beautiful.
So when you can get back into the physical process of
Yeah.
creating the work, what are you looking forward to the most about resuming that rehearsal or the process?
Well, I tell you what I look forward to the most is the live experience of being back in a room with our family. So that's what we're missing the most at the moment. And because we stopped halfway through the rehearsals, and it was heartbreaking for our creative team and for our performers who've all had to go home to be safe. So I think what I'm looking forward to the most is the human contact with our creatives and with our performers, and just getting back in that room and creating the magic, so that we're ready for when all the restrictions lift and we can all come together again. Because for us, yes, we love all the online engagement. It's really fantastic to keep us connected, but it's the live visceral experience of sitting side by side with your friends, with your fellow creatives, to create the work and the magic. Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Hopefully not too much longer.
We've got little visitors just arrived.
Oh.
Puppy dogs just arrived.
Oh.
Sorry.
Your creative co-partner right now.
Yes, she sure is. Her name's Gina. Yeah,
Hi, Gina. So we're going to go into a few quirky little questions that we're going to be asking all of our artists. The first
she heard
one,
you call.
Hi,
She heard you. She heard you call her. Hey, write us say hello.
She's beautiful.
She's a lovely girl. All right, get down. All right, I'll give you more.
We're all dog people at Riverside.
Working from home. All of a sudden, you've got a cast of thousands from the world.
Okay, the common questions that we're going to be asking all of our artists in the Meet the Artist program is, the first one is, why do you do what you do?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, the reason I do what I do is that when I was a young person, I didn't have the experience of live theatre. I just didn't. The closest I came to live theatre, which I guess was a little bit live theatre, was World Championship Wrestling that my parents took me to, and boxing and those sorts of things that my father was interested in. And I just didn't have that experience. And it wasn't until I started experiencing live theatre at around the age of 19, 20 that, I don't know, my inner child really, really came to the fore. And the truth of it is that there is nothing else in this world that I want to do that gives me joy, that fills my soul, fills my heart, to connect with young people via this medium, and to connect with the inner child, the inner creative being that I am. It's the only thing I want to do.
Wonderful.
That's my answer.
Now, the next one is, what was the last live performance you saw? And I suspect it might be the same as mine, actually. So
I think it might be. I had to have a think about it because it's been quite a few weeks. But the last thing I saw was Cusp.
Yes,
is that what you were
mine
thinking?
too.
Yeah.
Yes, we were both there
And
together.
It was just the incredible show written by, my good friend Marianne Butler, and directed by my other lovely friend Fraser Caulfield, and produced by ATYP. Just lovely.
Next is, what is your favourite Riverside moment?
Look, I've got a lot of favourite Riverside moments. I'm going to give you two. I'm going to tell you two things. So one thing is, one experience that I think me and a lot of performers that come to Riverside is the moment when you walk into the dressing room and there's always a beautiful welcome gift. And I just cannot underestimate how important that feeling of being welcomed into a venue is. So that's one of my favourite moments. The other favourite moment for me is the opening night of Where the Streets Had a Name. That's my personal one, because that is one that Robert Love, I remember coming to him and saying, I've got this idea. There's this book. I really want to adapt it. it's politically, it's a really important piece, but I don't know what to do. And he backed me, Monkey Baa, and the project all the way. And that is my other really, and that book was written by Randa Abdel Fattah. So that was really a really important and favourite moment for me too.
It was a lovely production. I was really disappointed to miss the opening night because I was in bed with the flu. But
you were really unwell.
I did get to see it at Monkey Baa the following week. I was well enough to venture out, and it was amazing. And I love the book as well. Randa's such a great writer.
Yeah, she's a wonderful writer.
Yeah. And the last one is, what are you binging on right now?
Oh my goodness. I have been binging, like I've actually made myself start reading because my husband's, a prolific reader, as you can see behind me, as an English teacher. So I've made him put a whole bunch of books on my Kindle because I had been binging so much Netflix. So I've been binging Ozark, Afterlife, Schitt's Creek, just so much stuff. But I've also been watching Bluey on the ABC. Oh my God, I love Bluey so much. So yeah, like a massive array of different work. That's what I've been binging on.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Eva. It was wonderful to speak to you.
Thanks, Amy.
And everyone at Riverside, please stay tuned for Edward the Emu, which we will be getting when these restrictions lift. So watch this space. Thank you so much, Eva.
Thank you.